One tap. Go back. Hello, this is Crypt, and today we're going over my Ash Hidden Dagger build. Alright, so, just to start off with, we're just going to take a quick rundown of Ash's abilities before we get into this so that people understand, what he can do base. So, Ab's passive, he gets a bonus to slash effects inflicted on enemies by 25%, and they last 50% longer, making it great with any sort of slash weapon. We're going to go through the abilities here. Shuriken here, I actually have subsumed off on both of my builds, but just to kind of let you know, it shoots 5 shurikens off. They have a degree of homing to them. They, I believe, still pierce through walls and everything. They also have an augment mod that allows them to strip armor with very little power strength to get it to 100%, but we're not using it, so who cares? Next we have Smokescreen. This is one of the bread and butter things of survivability for Ash in general. It gives him permanent invisibility. Well, it's not permanent. You can't recast it while you're in it, but you can just recast it when it ends. When using an augment on teleport here, it would actually allow you to essentially stay in it all the time, but we'll get to that in a second. It'll also stun the enemies around you, which is very good in clutch situations, and makes it easier to get the cast off without someone like tearing you apart during the animation sequence. And this is teleport. So I'm a huge fan of teleport, and I like teleporting around, but I will say that it's not the most efficient way of killing people. There is an augment for this that allows you to increase your parkour velocity and also increases the length of time left on Smokescreen. I believe it's like 6 seconds to start off with, and it's affected by ability duration. But basically, every time you teleport and you actually do the finisher attack thing, it'll add 6 seconds to the timer on this, allowing you to, if you're a teleport build, just kind of stay into that indefinitely. Which is something I like messing around with. But that's not how I ended up setting it up. So, this is his final ability. This is bread and butter of DPS. This is Blade Storm. It's basically what it is you activate the ability, and then you look around, and as you look around, you're going to see the highlights over the enemies and a little symbol over their head. When you reactivate the ability, all the you'll summon 2 clones, actually, or up to 2 clones. It's a little, sometimes you only see one, or they hit at different times. It's a little weird, but essentially it seems like 2 shadow clones are going off at the same time. And they attack enemies, causing true damage. So this bypasses armor and all that good junk. All sort of damage resistances. It is, however, a little bit slow, so you do want to speed it up, but we'll get into that later on. And being invisible, as you can see, will also lower the cost. Alright, there is a alternative way of using this rather than casting it, looking around, and casting it again. You can cast and hold down the cast button, and then look around, and when you let go of the button, it'll release the move. But I will say that if you're on controller like I am, that is not a very comfortable playstyle. So I generally do the 2 cast thing. Alright, let's get out of this here. So, we're going to go to upgrade. Now, as you can see, I did a nourish build at one point in time, but we're going to go over to this. And just as a quick note, this is kind of what I've got set up. We'll just go over the Archon shards real quick since I have it here. 75 max energy, 75 max energy. Ash, for a frame that's supposed to be casting a lot, does not get a lot of energy, so the 150 extra energy, the doubling of it, is really, really nice. Extra casting speed, I don't know if it's necessary, but I like having it on him just because. Then we have 2 of the Crimson Shards. We got 1 for ability duration. When I get a Tau Forged one, I'll put in Tau Forged one there, just to give us more time on our abilities here. And we have the Crimson Shard here for ability strength to bump that up a little bit. Now, to go over the abilities we're using. So we're using Teleport, Blade Storm, Smokescreen, and Silence. So Silence comes from Banshee, okay? It's a subsume ability that when you activate it, you basically make an invisible bubble around you that silences the area, okay? It also stuns enemies who get in, who enter or leave it, I believe. Actually, I think it's just when they enter, but if they leave it and enter it again, they will get stunned again. Now, you'll also notice down at the bottom it says Savage Silence, okay? This is the augment for it. So we're going to go into the build now. We're going to show you the build real quick. So, since I'm mentioning Savage Silence, this is the augment for Silence, staggers enemies, and finisher damage is increased by 300%. Now, remember when I said that the Blade Storm does true damage? Well, it doesn't just do true damage. It's true damage because it's considered a finisher strike. So, because it's considered a melee finisher, it is actually affected by the Savage Silence, which is affected by power strength. So at the moment, I have an 885% finisher damage bonus on my Savage Silence. So when I've got this active and the enemies are affected by it, and I proc the Blade Storm on them, they take additional damage over the regular Blade Storm by that percentage. There's some crazy math and shit, I'm sure, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, so just to go over the build real quick, we have Brief Respite here, so that when I'm casting my abilities, since I don't have it at a negative efficiency or a positive one, it'll give me a decent... You know, I'm not entirely sure if this one actually counts towards Brief Respite, so I will have to do some testing on that, and I apologize for not knowing, but the rest of the moves would. So when you do, like, 75 here, you're getting over 100 shield, and because it is 150% of the cost. I don't have very much shields. It just helps it kind of boost back up a little bit and keeps you in that shield gate area, so you can use it to a degree. But it also helps out your team because most people want the extra shield. Next, we have Power Drift. Now, I know a lot of people would say, Prime sure-footed, and I would agree with this, except for the fact that because of your smoke screen, you are generally invisible all the time, so people don't generally target you with their big explosives and knockdown stuff, and because of silence, they also can't. So, this has got a lot of stuff and built into this little move here, so it's hard to remember it all at first, but silence here from Banshee doesn't just do what I mentioned earlier, it also... Think of it like shutting down casters, essentially. It shuts down the enemies. They can't use their abilities while they're in your silence bubble. It doesn't just silence the area, it silences them from using their stuff, just like in an RPG when you silence a mage. Okay? Now, this is huge because this actually affects Xmas units and I believe they're called the Acolytes from Steel Path. As long as you hit them with your silence bubble, they no longer can activate any of their abilities, and it'll even shut off like 99% of active abilities. And I will show you that later on with a group of Xmas, and you'll just see all their powers just turn off. But anyways, because of those two things, I don't really have a problem being knocked down. So having Prime sure-footed is kind of a waste. Whereas the extra ability strength increases things like Blade Storm. And it also increases things like the finisher damage bonus from from Silence and the finisher damage bonus from Teleport. Now, next we have Prime Continuity for ability duration. Helps balance out the another one we have, which is Transient Fortitude for more ability strength. Now, some people like to use Blind Rage and stuff like that, and maybe at this energy you could, but you know, I call him a caster frame. He casts all the time. You're constantly draining your energy. To use them effectively, so I just don't want to get stuck in a situation where it's not energy efficient. So that's why I went with this. You will tell that I am running triple Umbral. You do not need to run triple Umbral. Maybe Umbral Intensify would be a good option here so that you still get some power strength, all this stuff. And then you could run, because I think it's free anyways, and then you could run two other things here, whatever you wanted, maybe Adaptation over Fiber, and maybe, you know, regular Vitality, or maybe a Shield mod here if you wanted to go deep into the Shield Gate thing instead of trying to have more life. Honestly, because most people are not a fan of health tanking, you know, these aren't necessarily necessary outside of boosting up this thing here. Another possible option could be, what is it? If you didn't want to do, you could do some strength mods in there. Like I said, you could do the shield thing. You can also do, what is it called? I think it's called Precision. Yeah, Precision Intensify. If you wanted to really up the strength of this, but you will come at a cost to the finisher damage here. But the biggest issue is the cost of the finisher damage here. But you do whatever feels right to you. Technically, like I said, these are kind of flexy because of the fact that don't really need to run full Umbral. I just had the resources to do it. This is Smoke Shadow. This is the augment for his smoke screen there. Now, I will let you know, as I mentioned before, I like to teleport. So, for the longest time, I was running Teleport Rush, which I believe got reworked a while back and now has this parkour velocity. And as you can see, oh yeah, 5 seconds. It extends smoke screens by 5 seconds and such. If you kill an enemy with the teleport. So I like using this, I really do, but it's not effective when you're trying to do like a survival or something like that, because you're just not going to kill fast enough with that, unfortunately. But it is great as primary target killing. Like if there's a specific target you want to take down, it's really good for that. and allows you to stay stealth without using up your timer, doing and all that good junk. But as a more realistic approach to it, and smoke screen's probably going to be the one you want to go with to give your team the stealth, which will give them stealth multipliers and everything else, and it'll also give you the extra 150 critical chance, which I believe is actually multiplicative. Because if it wasn't, I should be critting way farther than I do. So I'm pretty sure that's multiplicative. So in all honesty, it doesn't really give you anything worth noting. I mean, I think this has a base 5% crit chance. So while you're in this, it'd be what? 105. So that'd be what? 12.5, which is not much. But hey, it's an extra buff. Why not? And you get to conceal your allies as well. Again, you can flex this. Maybe more power strength if you wanted to. You could easily go more power strength. Augur, one of the augur mods, something like that. So it's a very flexible build. But in the high health version of this, is one of the reasons why I'm running these two here, and I'll get to that in a second. And last but not least, we have Equilibrium. I didn't used to run this on the build, but before I started running it, my energy issues were so drastic. I was having issues sometimes maintaining and such, and it just shouldn't be like that. So Equilibrium ended up being necessary. So as to my arcanes, I am a health heavy build, so I have essentially set this character up to be both shield gating with brief respite and health tanking. Now you'd think, oh, you can't health tank your armor, shit. But with Arcane Reaper, every time I kill something, I get 660 armor and 24 health per second. Now, the 24 health per second and the armor do not stack on top of each other. You do refresh the buff, but you don't stack it. But I'm going to let you know that at 660 plus armor, this would be over 1100. You'd be looking at, the around 80% damage reduction or something of that nature. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can find someone a little close in the armor. He's at a 14, but it really scales down. So based on that, I'd say at 1100, you're probably like 78. See what I got on Baruch. Yeah, because as you can see, it scales pretty fast at first. Because that's 69, and at 518, it's 63. So just 100 gave him a bunch of points. But the scaling goes down the higher you go. So around 1100 armor, which should give you, like I said, up in the 70s for mid to high 70s for damage resistance. And on top of that, the 24 health per second makes this amount of health usable for when it comes to things like, the status procs and stuff that are going off on you. Obviously, you can't health tank in the level cap. You'd be focusing more on staying invisible and using your shield gating, but it gives you more room to play with here. Now, I know that I could go with Molt Augmented, which would give me more damage, another 60-something percent power strength right here, which would increase damage drastically in the end. But I didn't end up going with that just because I kind of like the feel of the build, and I didn't feel like I needed any more damage. You could definitely go for the full-in damage thing, but I didn't feel like I needed it. And just to let you know, this right here, this actually, by using my 4 to kill the enemies on the side, which, by the way, procs this now. Back in the day, Bladestorm didn't proc arcanes, but nowadays it does. So I can Bladestorm from invisibility, kill something, and get this buff. And it'll keep you alive in situations. At least on, max content. Like I said, damage cap, whole different thing. Then I have Arcane Strike. Once again, this could have been Arcane Crepuscular, I believe it's called. Is it called Arcane Crepuscular? Let me just check real quick. No, you know what? I should realize this is alphabetical. Yeah, we'll just upgrade that while we're at it. But as you can tell, what this is a flat ability strength boost and final critical multiplier, okay? Now, on an invisibility frame, any of them, that is extremely powerful. It'll upgrade your weapons, your ability strength, all of that good stuff. And honestly, it'd be a great replacement for Arcane Reaper. Probably, in my opinion, better than Bolt Augmented, so you don't have to deal with the ramping. I just prefer the survivability here. And then you have Arcane Strike, like I said, was mentioned before. So the reason for Arcane Strike is your 4 is affected by attack speed. And I am running a Dagger build. And I'm doing so because, and we're going to back out of this thing now, because, well, a couple different reasons. The synergy with the Argonauts, which we'll get to in a second, and because the Karst Prime doesn't get the love that it deserves. Being one of the highest in hitting weapons back when it released, it's also one of the slowest. So the Arcane Strike is necessary to get that up to a reasonable attack speed. It also gives a 67% bonus, though, to the Shadow Clones, which does affect it. Now, you'll notice that my Shadow Clones, and we're going to go into that next. And again, if you want to get rid of that, you can. You could get rid of Arcane Strike, drop it for, Crepuscular or Augmented, and then you would have to just kind of squeeze on an attack speed buff on this. So, drop out Strike, throw on, Prime Fury. It'll put you 5 points, from what I've heard, 5-point percentage above the max attack speed, because I guess the Shadow Clones can only attack it at a 1.5 attack speed. You just switch this out, and voila, you're going to lose some damage, but whatever. But you'll be making it up with the Crepuscular or something like that. Though I will say the Crepuscular would shine better on this build if I was using Kalervo's attack. But since I did not helmet Kalervo's move onto this, a Wrathful Dance, I do not have any sort of critical multiplier, nor am I building for it. So this is just raw damage. Okay, that's what this is. It's raw damage, and that's all it's meant to be. So that's my build here for my daggers. Not my daggers, but my Shadow Clones. Now, as a note, the Shadow Clones, and just to kind of show it while I'm talking here, the Shadow Clones are considered to be using daggers, okay? So, not only are they considered to be using daggers, but as I mentioned before, the attack is considered a finisher, which is why these can not only both be on it, but both help it a ton. And because they're daggers, though, and from what I can tell, they hit the enemy about 3 times, so you only see the damage number once per attack. They can be affected by something called Amalgam Argonaut Metal Auger. And you can see that it says damage from daggers reduces armor by 6. Now, just real quick, not to get too much into it, but real quick, it makes it seem like a very small amount when it says 6, but I'm going to tell you that this strips the armor off an Acolyte in just a couple hits. Like 3 or 4, okay, or something like that. So it's not stripping their current armor. It's stripping their base armor, and then their multipliers kick back in kind of deal. But like I said, this affects your Blade Storms. That means the 3 attacks, and you'll watch them hit the enemy 3 times too. Each hit should be potentially reducing them by 6, so essentially you have 18 armor reduction of base armor of any enemy that gets hit by your Blade Storm, and the finisher damage and all that other stuff. Now, Blade Storm might ignore a lot of damage reductions, but being able to strip the armor from a group of enemies as well is very useful if they survive. But this also synergizes into my Karst Prime. Just a real quick, since I was in the Argonaut, to go over it, just real quick, you can see it's kind of a pretty basic build, some cold radiation, so, a little bit higher crit chance damage stuff. It's not anything special, and honestly, I don't use it for attacking. I use it for the buff, and that works for me just fine. What I do like about it is the fact that you can switch the trigger from semi to auto. The auto fire is perfectly acceptable for anything that isn't Steel Path. And the semi or the auto fire will work just fine when it comes to hitting priority targets, like in what is it? It's not Fey Heck, but oh god, the Grenier chick there, who does the game that you end up facing, where I believe you get Saren's parts from, or if you still do. You have to hit these little things on the wall, and they need to be hit by like a bullet. So it makes good, it's good for doing things like that, little pop shots. But just kind of a basic build, just to go through it real quick, just to see it. Okay, so that's that build. I don't have any ribbons on it, as you can tell. If I did, maybe it'd be useful as an actual weapon, but like I said, I don't use it as that. Then we're gonna go into the Karst Prime here, because I said I use this too. Now, the Karst Prime is set up. What I'm doing here is I've got a gas spread build, as you can tell from the name. But I'm running melee influence. I know not everyone's a fan of that. As you'll notice too, I do not have all my arcanes maxed out and stuff like that, and I don't even have all my mods maxed out on everything in some cases. So there is room for improvement. But nonetheless, so I've got melee influence here, so I can spread gas by using the electric procs to spread the gas. It helps give me a wider range of damage, especially in situations where I can't use my Blade Storm, whether I'm for some reason unable to or whatnot. Gives me a good group damaging weapon and allows me to stick in melee, build my combo counter, all that good junk. So, and it also is Dagger, so it is affected by the Argonaut here for the Dagger damage resistance. Armor reduction. So like I said, you can strip the armor off of acolytes in just a few hits. Because this isn't really how you survive, and sometimes you are low on mana or whatever, or just random pop shots or whatnot. I put the focus defense on there for extra defense, just to give me a little bit more survivability. You might think, oh, Tennokai and all that good junk, but frankly, I don't use the heavy attack on this thing. And as far as I'm concerned, when you're running an influence build, it slows your DPS down. The slower heavy attack, only puts, it doesn't put as many status procs on, which is what you'd be looking for. And it's already a very slow weapon. And as you can tell, I don't have any speed mods on this, but that is covered by our Arcane Strike that we have on the Warframe. And I know it seems like a low percentage, but that crap always procs. Alright, so just basic stuff, Homely Fame, because I like the way it is. If there's a better one out there, feel free to let me know, but I don't really know much about the stances. I generally use the one I like at the time. Let's see here, some Blood Rush, Condition Overload for damage. Now you would think, but you're not prime, but my pet primes. So Condition Overload works for everything, my pet prime stuff. Now I am running a ribbon on my Karst tier. And it's a pretty decent one here, the 210% crit chance and 180% melee damage. Obviously, you don't need to run this, and you could run a different dagger. As a matter of fact, a decent dagger to run, and I'll just kind of go through the rest of these while I'm saying this, would be potentially something like, if you wanted to run closer to a high-power shield gate build, I would recommend running the Rock to Dark dagger. You can easily make the Rock to Dark dagger into a decent AoE weapon due to influence, again, but just to kind of give you some options. Special effect on that is when you hit something with a radiation proc, you heal your shields. Which, like I said, if you were going to run a high shield gate build of this, that'd work beautifully from when you can't use your abilities or something like that, or just for survivability. Alright, so that is the Karst prime that I'm using. Then we're going to go into the Will Jun Tenet Cyclone. So the Tenet Cyclone here is one of those beam weapons, okay, that when it hits something, it branches off and tags other enemies and hits them as well, okay? Things like, honestly, things like punch through are super good on these kind of weapons, because the more enemies it punches through, the more times it can branch off and such with these particular kinds of weapons. But I'm running this for the Augur Pact, for the extra shield conversion, and for the secondary fortifier. Okay. Now, I was running, and just as you know, because I forgot to mention the Argonaut, I was running a Dexterity Arcane, like I do with the Argonaut here, to help give me more combo time. But I found that even though the extra combo time is nice, that there's some really intriguing interactions with the secondary fortifier and the mechanical dog companions you get from the what the heck are they called? The liches, the freaking corpus liches there. Sorry. Okay, so this weapon is also from one of the corpus liches. But just to kind of show you, I have this on here. I do not need that on there. What the hell is that doing? Speeds. Because I don't have anything better. Now, if I had something that like increased the beam's length or something like that, I'd put that here over this. I think I just have this on here just because. Yeah, well, I don't think I know. So don't even worry about that. I don't even know if it ever procs. I don't even know if this weapon can even proc it since it says no AoE. But so I have that on here, some basic mods here for extra damage. I have priming easily going on, plus this is a status weapon, so this can prime electric, magnetic, gas, all on its own, which means it can, build the damage up pretty quickly. Let's see, just some damage mods to make the elements and some basic damage there. This gun actually hits pretty hard, decently hard. let's see, just to kind of show. Let's go. Yeah, let's keep the Xmas units here. Oh no! Pause the AI. There we go. Let's try this guy. Alright. Without showing anything else, the pet there's rocking. So with the little effect on the gun, you can see it just tore right through the overguard and then started tearing through these guys. Now don't forget that these are level 210 Xmas units. Okay. Oh, and I'm out of ammo, which is why they weren't dying. I gotta wait for the charge. There we go. Xmas units that I have no buffs on, other than what my pet did, crap like that. This one's so tough. But as you can tell, it just kind of like tore them right down without any real issue. Some of the ones that sit around, the less enemies they are, the less damage it seems to do, but it didn't seem to have any issues actually killing them. And like I said, Steel Path enemy and Xmas units with their Xmas powers going when that first started up. So, now, just real quick, we're going to unpause the AI, and I'm going to take some damage. Come on, hit me. Damn it. Hey. So, the interesting thing about this, you see my overguard is at 11,404 right now, right? So, do you see it rising and going up? For some reason, certain interactions with your companion are considered to be a secondary attack, and when they hit something with overguard, they give you the overguard as if you did it with your weapon. So just to kind of pause the AI, kill the enemies, simulate. Again, haven't put any debuffs or anything else on these guys. But see me instantly capped up? His lightning thing automatically capped me out. Because they all had overguard. And I'm going to tell you, too, that I have not attacked once, and my companion just wiped them all out due to the interactions. So, just as a note, it makes your companion better. And you. It's like free overguard just by having it as your main active weapon. And yes, even if you have your sword out or something like that, or your dagger, as long as it's not hard out, like, you know, you hard switch to it, versus just having it as the quick melee out, the little effect still kicks in. So let's just start showing you some of the build here, okay? So, simulacrum here. Simulate. Just kind of show you things. Obviously, we have the smoke cloud we can go into, right, for invisibility, and it'll make our ally invisible too. You see all their powers on? Activate my one, silence. Did you see the shields disappear off of them? And so a lot of the different effects kind of depower. So as of right now, they can't use their abilities. All their abilities are currently shut down. And, like I said, that's the gas spread. This does really well when it comes to spreading gas, does decent damage. These units have particularly strong shields, but as you can tell, a few hits, everything's dead. I don't even really have a combo multiplier yet. It's actually what I'm kind of doing right now, is I'm building some combo multiplier on the cars to show you that. 10 times combo. As you can see, I'm seeing red crits here. I put some gas on them, and they're all just kind of dying from huge gas ticks and everything. So, easily just kind of run through packs, proc and all that, and they all end up dying from gas ticks. Because they're actually one of the tougher units against the Shadow Clones here. So I need to build my combo counter there to kind of show you. So yeah, you'd activate your 4, right? And you'd mark all the enemies. Now, you don't need to go that slow. Just doing that to show you. You can just kind of and be done with it. And then you activate it again. And you'll see, if you look at the number, it's usually going down by about 2. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, I will let you know that the Wrathful Advanced build, you're going to do like stupidly funny high damage, honestly, if you use that, because of the critical multiplier add-on. But everyone's running that, and I think silence is actually a really cool ability. Now, against the Xmas units, the Shadow Clone thing didn't do too great because of the Overguard. For some reason, it doesn't do very well against Overguard, but I want to show you what it's really like in combat. So let's see. Let's go to this one. You know, have silence on, you'd have hidden, go right up to the pack, right? And then you pop it off. Dead, dead, dead. 5 million, 5 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 7 million, 15 million, 6 million, you know, 6 million, 6 million, 3 million. You know, this is against guys that aren't necessarily even primed yet, because I didn't see my guy send off a priming wave. So just to kind of oh, hold on, I'm gonna kill them. Clear that. Let's do that one more time to kind of show you guys what this is like. Alright, so you'd activate your 4, swing around real quick to get them all procced into 4, right? You know, you're going to see 6 million, 6 million, 7 million, 6 million. I'm not even invisible, which should give me an invisibility buff. You know, red crits on the Karst Dagger against him. You know, hundreds of thousands of damage. It doesn't seem like much. But to be honest, because of the proc system, it really works out well. Let's see, kill, clear, since, yeah, let's go infested battle group here. Let's see, go silence, go that, tap, swing, like I said, and notice how I got them all. I've already recasted, you got 5 million, everything else. Everything's just dying. All in the millions of damage, right, 9 million. Let's do it again with another battle group, so you guys can kind of see what it's like in a real combat. Let's see here. So we'll go to the Oricans this time. Okay, so we're going to wait the 6 seconds. Hopefully my pet does not prime. Thank you. Alright, so we're going to go in. We're going to hit silence. We're going to hit invisibility. Swing. Pop it off. 6 million. 3 million. 4 million. 6 million. And if you notice, dude, 12 million. I'm actually doing the same damage with these guys as I was doing with, you know, the Infested and the Tekra. And these guys are fully armored. That is the benefits of true damage. Also, after the attack, their armor is, you know, much lower. So even if they do survive, any attack from you afterwards will just end it. Here we go. Let's go simulate these guys. So once again, we're going to go silence. Go invisible. And then we're going to swing our Courser to get them all in there. And we're going to hit it. So even against Sentience, I'm doing 5 million, 6 million, 1 million sometimes. These guys are pretty tough. Ooh. Oh, apparently they blow up as they die, which I didn't realize. But as you can tell, they're basically dead. A higher roll on the damage to them would have been enough to kill them, which happens, which generally rolls pretty high. They usually just die. Let's see here. Alright, so that's the Sentient group, then you got the Murmur. And now remember, this is all level 210 Steel Path enemies. And I'm having absolutely no problems in proccing this on them and killing them and all that good junk. As you can tell, the Murmur just, like, went away. Essentially, the only pack that didn't go away, didn't just go away, was the, well, the 2 guys at the end here, but honestly, that pack went away too. Let's see. Here, simulate. And this isn't going to be any different than the last one, just to kind of show you. I'm going to put the silence on, I'm going to hit invisibility, and then I'm just going to go like that. And as you can tell, I got them all procs. There's, you know, crit or not crit, it generally seems to do the same amount of damage, but those are still huge damage things with huge procs. That was a 13 million right there on the last guy. I have seen higher numbers. Weirdly enough, I feel like I see better numbers in actual gameplay than I do here in the simulacrum. But, again, and activate it again. 5 and 6 million, 17 million, 8 million, 2 million, 8 million, 2 million. You know, all of it's just crushed them all without any sort of issue. Now, like I said, you could jack up the damage more and more with the, you know, changing out some mods and whatnot. But as you can see here, I did proc Arcane Reaper from this effect. As a matter of fact, you got up to 120% damage on your 4th from its Arcane. To be honest with you, I didn't even think about that when I was showing you the damage, and if I was doing this faster, you would actually see an even bigger number. And that's basically what you do, is you just end up going, putting silence down, you put this down, and then you just, you know, activate your 4, pop it off. A nice thing about your 4 is when you have it active, when you're invisible, you get this little black shadow, so you don't need to look down necessarily back at your action bar. If you want to deactivate, you can deactivate and you'll know because the shadow will disappear. So that's actually a really cool little feature personally. I really like that. But anyways, that's the build. I have no problem running any of the in-game content that I've been doing. I hope you enjoyed, and we're gonna see some real gameplay here. So let's get you to some gameplay. All right, so we're gonna go to Selkie here. Mainly because I do not have tab unlocked on, well, not stat. I don't have it unlocked on, yet on Steel Path because I hate the Kuva Fortress. So, we're gonna go here instead. Just to kind of give you an example, obviously these guys are a little lower than what they were in the simulacrum, but
all that you have learned.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules your way.
So, silence them all. Once you get the silence on, which gives you a stun against the people around you, and gives you some stealth multipliers, crap like that at times. Now you can go invisible. Now that you've gone invisible, now as you can see, I'm just kind of leading everybody, but go like that, fire. There's 21 guys. I just procced my forearm. And you go up and you just kind of assist, because like I said, the move is kind of slow before. But it is useful. You can also just do that and walk away, and as you can tell by the map, all those guys disappeared. Now you want to try to be invisible for the reduction in energy cost to the skill. And as you can tell, you can easily just go around with a really good melee and just melee your entire way through, especially with a really good influence builds, you know, or even this setup, you know, would be better if I had my arcane influence, melee influence actually maxed out. As you can tell, it seems to work just fine. Stun them, so there's plenty of control. When you first stun them, you can do things like cause finishers and everything else to them. Apparently someone thinks I'm a bad guy, but that's okay. So go like that, grab your stuff. Make sure you go back invisible. As you can tell, I'm getting some overguard, which is interesting because usually I actually have to have the secondary on. So I'm not sure if that's even more fun than it used to be, but now I've got my actual secondary weapon on, and as you can tell, my overguard is now building like absolutely crazy. Just kind of letting all these guys come through, kill them. Assassinate that for 21 million. You know, priority targets, man. Kill those guys, they're all just gonna drop. 16 million, as you can tell. You know, damage is starting to crank. I'm up to the 240 on freaking arcane on my storm there, the one that gives you the corrosive damage. Really bad name, so you're gonna have to forgive me on that. I have a tendency to forget what things are called. Alright, so I could run with that. So back into silence, back into invisibility, and go over here. I can tag all these 13 guys. Go like that while they're dying. I'm gonna come up here, kill these guys. Just cause, oh, there's a bunch of guys in the room. I just noticed from the mini-map. So you go like that, you come in here, do that, go invisible again. As you can tell, they're all just dying. I don't need to stick around to do anything. Just gotta tag all those guys in there. Another 15 or so enemies. Come down there, kill those guys in one single freaking hit. You know, the numbers don't look great at first on the build, but they work out like tremendously. You know, and then like I said, you go through this, you can see 4 million, 4 million, you know, 11 million, 8 million, 4 million, 4 million. And it's more than enough damage to do like all the content, really. You don't really need more than millions of damage. Now, like I said, you can get much higher, just to kind of give credit where credit is due. I think, God, I think it's like Gaz and Reinhardt Squad and everything else. They've got builds up there, that, you know, using Palermo's Wrathful Advance that do hundreds of millions of damage, you know, and they're good. But it's just not, as far as I'm concerned, necessary. And I am a tank at heart, so I always tend to build my builds a little more on the survivability side. But, as you can tell, I'm having absolutely no problems here. Going through and doing this, just kind of screwing around. Honestly, the biggest thing I always find is I wish there was more enemies spawning. You know, it's like the whole pack dies and you go find another pack to kill. It's like so it would be nice to have higher spawns in this game here in Steel Path, but oh well. But yeah, as you can tell, just kind of, you know, and ending everyone. Here we go, just a little bit more. Let's see here. Turn my invisibility tailor off, and I'm gonna go and just try to fight with nothing on, just to kind of show what you can do, just defensive wise. So everything's falling off. Silence and invisibility. Just attacking, right? Got 4,000 overguard still.
The operative has just made their first discovery. Keep up the good work.
Still dying.
Extraction is ready.
All the way out here. Influence hasn't procced yet. There you go, see? And now you got thousands of damage going off from influence. Oh, so we're coming near the end of this, but just to show you real quick, we're gonna have an alkylate come. So we got violence. So you go silence, you go invisibility. You tag violence with your move. Hold on. He's getting debuffed, but he hasn't been tagged yet. Sometimes the move doesn't tag. Or you can just come in with your dagger and see how it, right before he died, his armor was gone, that you can easily do that. Plus, they don't know what to do with you, and they never activate their abilities because of silence. And with silence and invisibility, you are essentially invisible to the infested as well. Because a lot of infested see via noise, and silence shuts that off. So this is as true invisibility, as truly hidden as you possibly can get. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. What are we at right now? Just to see real quick, new mission progress. 430 kills at 6 minutes, and I was swimming around. So, I don't know, just a quick guess, around 80 kills per minute or some shit like that, right? So, it's still decent kills per minute and everything else, and on Steel Path. Anyways, once again, I hope you enjoyed. This is Crypt, and, see if you enjoyed a little hidden dagger build. Anyways, peace.